Hello, everyone. My name is Amir Amiri. I am a broker, an associate broker also with eXp Realty. I've been asked a lot why I joined eXp Realty and from friends and coworkers. And I thought to create this video to be able to explain to you what my mindset was. It really didn't have much to do with eXp Realty because I have had this mindset before from some books and research I have done, some books that I've read and some research I've done. And I decided today to share this with you so that you will know why I did this, why I joined eXp Realty. I've made another video that I've explained eXp Realty to you. This video is not about that. It's basically about how I developed the kind of mindset that matches eXp Realty. So without any delay, let's get to it. Thank you. All right, so welcome again. Let's get with the presentation. And we have got a lot to cover. All right, so it's all about a mindset. Okay, so in order to explain this to you, I have to talk to you about the mindset I've had and about the mindset that there is that you need to also acquire. So there are two questions that I had to answer for myself. I will address and answer them during this presentation to explain the mindset. It is necessary to answer them both in order to make sure that eXp is not just the best choice, but the only choice when it comes to owning your own real estate business. However, in order to answer these two questions, I will take you on a Kiyosaki voyage to help you understand why it's not as much about eXp as it is about us. Have you heard of Robert Kiyosaki or read any of his books? He became famous with his two books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and which was followed by the Cash Flow Quadrant. All I need to tell you about him is that he came from a regular family, worked hard, became bankrupt, and then used what he learned from his experiences to gain a wealth of over $100 million. So let us continue and see what we can learn from Mr. Kiyosaki. Kiyosaki takes the working population and divides it into four categories, or as he likes to call it, four quadrants. These are the employees, the self-employed, the business owner, and the investor. So the employee, the self-employed, the business owner, and the investor. Mr. Kiyosaki also separates the four quadrants into two half circles. The first left half circle consists of employees and the self-employed. I like to call that the two pies. So this is the left half circle or the left pie. And the right half circle consists of business owners and investors, which is the right side or the right pie. So now that you've seen this much, which half circle or pie do you think you belong to, or do you know that you belong to? Are you comfortable with where you are? Where do you think you naturally belong? How well do you know yourself? To help you answer these questions, let me provide you with some details about these categories or quadrants. We'll start with the first one. First and the largest is the employee quadrant. An employee gets paid for her time. An employee has some income security, works for people, is told when to work, how much to work, what to do, and where to work, and some other stuff. The income can be good, but it averages out the lowest in comparison within the four quadrants. Okay, so that's the first quadrant, employee. Oh yeah, remember this also. An employee basically has a job, right? So remember that an employee has a job. The second one is the self-employed. The second quadrant of the left half circle is self-employed.
The self-employed gets paid selling services, products, or both. These people get paid based on their skill level, outside competition, how good they are, and their income is limited because it is based on their personal efforts. So remember this. A self-employed, what does he do? He owns a job. Okay, so let's remember that. The third is a business owner. A business owner owns a system that generates revenue by leveraging employees and self-employed. A business owner is not limited by the time. Why? Since the revenue of the company is not based on his or her daily efforts. It is the system that generates revenue, and such a system can be repeated. So a business owner owns a system. Let's remember that. Last but not least, an investor has money or wealth and uses his and her wealth and experience to generate revenue. So investors are always looking out to find business owners with good working systems to invest in. Investors own investment and get paid through those investments. So an investor, or for an investor, money works for an investor. So the money that the investor has works for him or her. Now, I want to tell you a story. Let's listen to a story to give you a perspective to what we have learned so far and to give you maybe a bit of a deeper understanding of this. So the story that I'm going to tell you, it's about a small village that has no water. Okay, so let's listen to it, and you know, I hope that you will get that perspective that I'm trying to put forward. By the way, this story is also from Kiyosaki. So once upon a time, there was this little village. It was a great place to live, except for one problem. The village had no water unless it rained. To solve this problem, once and for all, the village elders get together and decided to put out to bid the contract to have water delivered to their village on a daily basis. 2 people volunteered for this task, and these to take on these tasks. And the elders, of course, awarded them the contract to both of them. Why did they award the contract to both of them? They felt that a little competition would keep prices low and ensure a backup supply of water. So, small village has no water, elders get together, put out a contract to hire someone to provide them with water, and they hire 2 people. So, the first of the 2 people who won the contract, who was Ed, immediately ran out, bought 2 galvanized steel buckets, and began running back and forth along the trail to the lake, which was a mile away. He immediately began making money as he labored morning to dusk, hauling water from the lake with his 2 buckets. He would empty them into the large concrete holding tank the village had built on a daily basis. Each morning, he had to get up before the rest of the village woke up and to make sure that there was enough water for the village when it wanted it. It was hard work, but he was very happy to be making money and for having one of the 2 exclusive contracts for this business. So Ed was happy. Even though he was working hard, he had to wake up before everyone, and he had to make sure that the village, the entire village had water, but he was happy because he was making money. He had no competition. The second winning contractor, let's call him Bill, disappeared for a while. He was not seen for months, which made Ed very happy since he had no competition. Ed was making all the money. Instead of buying 2 buckets to compete with Ed, Bill had written a business plan, created a corporation, found 4 investors, employed a president to do the work, and returned 6 months later with a construction crew. Within a year's time, his team had built a large volume stainless steel pipeline which connected the village to the lake. At the grand opening celebration, Bill announced that his water was cleaner than Ed's water. Bill knew that there had been complaints about the dirt in Ed's water. Remember, he was pulling it from the river. Bill also announced that he could supply the village with water 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Ed could only deliver water on the weekdays. He did not work on weekends. Then Bill announced that he would even charge 75% less than Ed did for the higher quality water and more reliable source of water. Why? Because he had put a filter on his system that was purifying the water. The village cheered and ran immediately for the faucet at the end of Bill's pipeline. In order to compete, Ed immediately lowered his rates by 80%, bought 2 more buckets, added covers to his buckets, and began hauling 4 buckets each trip. In order to provide better service, he hired his 2 sons to give him a hand for the night shift and on the weekends. When his boys went off to college, he said to them, "Hurry back, because someday this business will belong to you." Well, for some reason, after college, his 2 sons never returned. Eventually, Ed had employees. He had to hire employees. And he had union problems then. The union was demanding higher wages, better benefits, and wanted its members to only haul 1 bucket at a time. I think you're getting the picture. Bill, on the other hand, realized that if this village needed water, then other villages must need water too. He rewrote his business plan, approached more investors, and went off to sell his high-speed, high-volume, low-cost, and clean water delivery system to villages throughout the world. He only makes a penny per bucket of water that he delivers, but he delivers billions of buckets of water. And all that money pours into his bank account. Bill had developed a pipeline to deliver money to himself as well as water to the villages. Bill lived happily ever after, and Ed worked hard for the rest of his life and had financial problems forever after. The end of the story. So let's see what is the moral of this story. But let's see it in Kiyosaki's words. I'm going to read it for you. That story about Bill and Ed has guided me for years. It has assisted me in my life's decision-making process. I often ask myself, am I building a pipeline or hauling buckets? Am I working hard or am I working smart? And the answer to those questions have made me financially free. So we're hearing this from a $100 million man. So what is a system? The system was the difference between the 2 persons who won the bid to supply water to that small village. When I say the system was the difference, because that is exactly what one had and the other did not. So who had the system? And which pie does she belong to? What about the other one? Which pie does he belong to? Remember Ed with the buckets, Bill with the pipeline? Let's answer these questions. So, true business owners utilize their ingenuity and know-how to design systems that solve problems. So a system is there to solve a problem. This takes a lot of time and effort. However, once a system is designed and tested and is proven to work, then it can be repeated in in sort of the same environment. So in a similar environment, the system will function. There are two kinds of systems that we are going to talk about. The first are the self-made systems. This is a system that you create. Let me explain this with another story. So this story is about the caretaker of a famous church in England. Let's listen to it and see what we can learn from it. It was 7 p.m. and the 65-year-old church caretaker was just about finished with his daily chores and was preparing to leave the church to go home when he saw 3 bishops walking towards him. He walked towards the bishops, and after paying his respects, he asked them if he could be of any help. One of the bishops said that they had come from Vatican and needed to see the priest. The caretaker informed them that the priest had gone to his home a few hours ago, and that is where they could probably find him. Then the same bishop asked the caretaker to write down the priest's home address so they could go visit him right away. The old caretaker replied that he could not read or write and that he had not been to school. The caretaker said that he did not need school since he had started working in his church from a very young age. However, he said that he would be happy to take them to the priest's home since he was also on his way home. The bishop, with a concerned look on their faces, accepted the caretaker's offer and followed him to the priest's house, which was a good 20-minute walk. When they arrived at their destination, they thanked the caretaker and entered the priest's home. The priest welcomed them in and asked them to consider his house as their own and honor them with his words and deeds. Once the important work was taken care of and they sat back to relax, one of the bishops asked the priest why he had hired the caretaker who was illiterate. The priest explained that the caretaker was there even before he had arrived to that church. The priest said that the caretaker had been working for that church, in that church, for more than 50 years. The same bishop replied that while he understood the situation, it would still require to have a caretaker who could read and write so that he could help tourists and visitors that come to this church from all over the world. The other 2 bishops agreed with the other bishop and added that the church of such historical importance and magnitude could not have an illiterate caretaker and asked the priest to resolve the situation ASAP. Next day, the priest asked the caretaker to come to his office and informed him of the conversation he had with the bishops and about their request to let the caretaker go to be replaced by one who could read and write. The priest gave the caretaker 6 months of his salary and dismissed him from his duties. Now you can imagine what the caretaker was going through. What would he say to his wife and his 2 unmarried daughters that he had at home? He was not making a lot of money in the church, but it was enough to take care of his family. What now? He had 6 months worth of his pay in his hand, but that would not last long. Where would he now get a job at that age? What could he do? He knew no other work or had any other talent or experience. Struggling with these thoughts, he began walking towards his home, but took a detour on a main street and walked without having any destination in mind. Suddenly, he felt like smoking a cigarette. He had kicked that bad habit more than 30 years ago. However, today he had to have one. He thought that it would calm his nerves down, so he started looking for a store where he could buy himself a cigarette. He walked and walked, but could not see any store, and he could not buy himself a cigarette. He walked for more than an hour, but could not find anywhere he could get a smoke from. A few minutes later, he finally found a main store and went in and got himself a pack of cigarettes. He lit his cigarette and started walking back to go home. Suddenly, he was hit with a thought as he was walking and taking deep puffs from his cigarette and thinking of what he was going to do. He thought to himself, there must be other smokers that walk this long path that I have walked that would also need to want to smoke cigarettes, just like him. So he decided to test his idea and went home. He did not tell his family that he had lost his job and woke up at 6 a.m. like every other day and left his house. He went and purchased a carton of cigarettes and walked toward the main street where he was looking to buy cigarettes the other day. He was on the previous day. And somewhere in the middle of the street, he set up shop. His shop consisted of a cardboard sign with the writing, cigarettes for sale. His first client came to him within the first 5 minutes he was there and bought 2 cigarettes. And then more and more people started buying his cigarettes. Within 1 hour, the carton was finished and he had made enough money to buy 4 more cartons. This is what he did. And by the end of the day, he had sold 10 cartons of cigarettes and had made more money than he would in 2 days working in the church. The next day, he purchased more cigarettes and sold them too. Eventually, he grew his business and started looking for other areas where he could start shop and opened many more locations. He hired people to work for him and paid them generously. One day, the bank manager of his branch called him into his office and asked him why he was not investing his money. The bank manager said that there was a lot of money in the caretaker's account and he should invest them. The caretaker informed the bank manager that he knew nothing about investments, but he would be willing to invest if the bank manager was going to help him. The bank manager agreed and asked the caretaker to go back to the bank the next day to sign some documents that the bank manager was going to prepare to invest the caretaker's money. The caretaker replied that he would be there, but that he was not able to sign because he could not read or write. With a huge surprise on his face, the bank manager replied that this was amazing and said jokingly, imagine where you could have been if you knew how to read and write. He said that to the caretaker, and the caretaker replied, oh, that's easy. That I can answer. That I have no problem with. If I could read and write, I would have been a caretaker in that old ancient church. So now that we've heard these stories and we've listened to and watched many slides, let us get back to the original questions and ask ourselves, what is a system? There are many systems that exist and are proven to make money for true business owners, like at McDonald's. eXp Realty has a proven system that works and makes money for its owners. No other real estate company has a system for the real estate agent or broker to make money. As a business owner that I'm talking about. So let's look at these mindset questions. Now let's answer them. Now let us ask ourselves a few questions. Which pie do I like and why? You remember the 2 pies? The circle that was divided vertically? One pie on the left was employee, self-employed. The other pie on the right was business owner and investor. Which pie do you like and why? You have to ask this question. Do I want to be a business owner and build a business? Or do I want to be a salesperson, an employee, or self-employed? Do I want to be an employee and or self-employed and be a job owner? Do I want to own a job? Do I want to have a job? Or do I want to own a system? In short and in summary, we have to ask these questions. Do I want to build a pipeline or do I want to haul buckets? This is a very important question for us to answer. So, mindset questions. Our answers to these questions will determine the answers to the main questions that we asked originally in the beginning, and the reason you are here. Why eXp Realty? It has in place a business system that helps build our own business with multiple sources of income and unlimited growth. With eXp, I am part of a growing idea and a winning system. I have explained eXp Realty in another video, which is around 20 minutes, that will explain to you all these sources of incomes, the community, eXp community, everything that it has to offer. So I suggest, if you understood and you have the same mindset to become a business owner, to go ahead and watch that as well. Now, why not others? They have no business system. They operate like Ed did. I will either be an employee working for them or self-employed. I am part of a dying idea. If I work for a brick and mortar broker, or even if I am one, okay, I belong to a dying breed. I am Blockbuster. I'm not Netflix. I am Circuit City. I'm not Amazon. So this is why not others. I hope that you have, I have been able to put forward why I think that the system that we have, that why eXp, okay? I hope you have understood that. And I hope that you won't hesitate to contact me if you have any questions. If you want to basically know more, if you want to understand how eXp works, like I said, I have another video created for that. So please take a look, get in touch with me. I'm more than willing to help you out to understand all this. And if you like to join eXp, then again, this is the best time to do that. Don't hesitate to get in touch with me and I will help you do that. All right. So thank you very much and have a good day. Bye-bye.